Welcome to Deal Talk. I'm Jeffrey Vike. Let's talk about avoiding dealer tricks and buying smart so that you can save big when you purchase that car, truck, motorcycle, boat, motorhome, whatever. Truck, whatever it is. I was thinking this week about people that are maybe out of work or limited on work income right now and what they should do about the credit issues that come up over this COVID virus stuff. I mean, this has put a lot of people walking the employment lines, right? There's still 1 million unemployment claims this week. And, it's getting better and things are doing better, but it's still pretty tough. And if you're behind on the bills, you still got to catch them up. So what can you do about it? What can be done to help in that situation? That's what I'm been thinking about. I've received some emails about that question and tried to help those people too. I did cover it a few weeks back, maybe 6 or 7 weeks back, on all the possibilities of protecting your credit and obtaining credit and all that stuff. I don't remember the exact date, but we did. The short answer to the problem is to communicate with your bill debt people, the bill collectors. Communicate with them. That's really paramount. They don't like it if you don't talk with them and you wait until all of a sudden, I can't pay ever, and then they're caught off guard and they have to change all their plans. So it's important to communicate fast. Secondly, see what help each bill collector will offer you. I mean, you could check with all of them. Tell them all you're having a problem and see what they come up with. If you have a mortgage, possibly the bank can tack a couple of months payment on your mortgage onto the end of the mortgage. That's not so bad. Give you a couple of months on those and tack them on at the end. If your mortgage is $1,200, $1,300, $1,500 a month, there's $3,000 you could come up with from that. If you rent, maybe the landlord will skip a couple of payments. You pay an extra $150 after that for whatever time it takes for you to catch up. Maybe they'll help you. Maybe they won't, but if you don't ASK, you don't GET. Every bill collector will offer something, I think. They're notified in advance especially. But if you wait, it's a shock to them too, to the landlord as well. They may in turn owe that money. So clearly, notification is the way to get the most help. I mean, what if they're caught off guard and they can't pay? They're in the same boat you're in, but with a different bank. If one of your bills is not flexible or helpful, use the other bill's flexibility to pay the less helpful one, and that will protect your credit score and you. And that's what you're trying to do here. You want to do it? That's how you do it. If you may need to buy a vehicle, think about the possibilities. Here's the questions you could ask yourself. Can I wait until a better time, first of all? Another one, can I fix the one I have? That'd be cheaper. If I'm going to buy one, what's the least expensive I can purchase that will still fit my needs? What's the least expensive way to get through that? How about, is a used vehicle possible? A lot of times, 1 or 2 year old used is probably a better value, especially in the tough times, than a brand new vehicle. In a lot of cases, for sure. Can I postpone some service work on my present vehicle if it's due for service? Maybe it's not broken, it's just due for service. Yeah, you can put that off for a while. Keep in mind, synthetic oil was really designed to go 15,000 miles. So if you hold off on your oil change, you're going to be okay. If the oil light comes on, that means the filter's plug in, well then stop. But if it doesn't, don't worry about it. I'm telling you, it's going to be fine. If the monthly payment is the biggest factor, find out if it can extend the term another 12 or 18 months if you're buying, right? I mean, you don't want to do that. You'd like to keep the term as short as you can. And I talk about that all the time. That's important to keep the term as short as you can. But during these tough times, maybe not. You tack on an extra 12 or 18 months, it lowers the payment. That's not the favorite thing. But if you think you may have to go with an extended term to get the result you want, then the difference is that later on, when things straighten out, you can pay an extra payment every other month. So that would be a payment and a half a month to make up for that time that you took and got the lower payment. But for now, it would really help you in the meantime, right, with a much lower payment. You go 18 extra months on a loan, it's a huge difference in monthly payment. Exactly what you should do depends on your situation. But communication with the bill collectors, with your landlord, with everybody early is key in every case. It's really important. I received an email from Ted about comparing half-ton and three-quarter-ton trucks. And that email, thank you, Ted, gave me the week's subject for the podcast, which is about trucks. We haven't talked about trucks in a long time, and that's a different ballgame for sure. So we're going to talk about them this week. If you like the show, please take a couple of minutes and do a review on Apple Podcasts or Google Play or whatever podcast source you use. Doesn't matter which one. If you've already done a review, Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I mean that sincerely, I do. And those of you who would like some written material to carry with you when you're out shopping, then get a copy of The Informed Buyer from Amazon Kindle or Barnes & Noble Nook. It tells you the whole story again, but it'll give you something to look at when you're in the dealership so you don't forget something. You can run through it quick. It's pretty well laid out. You can run through it quick and, if there's something you forgot. That thing you forgot, get down to talking payment and you say, wait a second, I didn't get a quote on my last payment. I didn't get all that information I got on the other ones. I better do that. And you find out that, holy smokes, they changed everything on me. In that case, it saved you, $500 or $1,000 because you caught it. So get a copy of The Informed Buyer. It's only $3. Yeah, $3 to get this. And I know it's like there's not many things you can buy for $3. My coffee at Starbucks is $3, $2.83 for one cup of coffee. And just think of it, this little booklet could save you hundreds of dollars, maybe thousands. Trucks have become a huge part of the auto industry, right? The percentage of truck sales are way larger than it was 20 or 30 years ago. 20 or 30 years ago, trucks didn't account for that big a deal. But if you count SUVs, those big station wagons that everybody owns, as trucks, then trucks account for about 69% of the U.S. market. Yeah, holy smokes, what a change, huh? But that's if you count SUVs, and personally, I don't see SUVs as trucks. I just see them as station wagons. I think they've got it laid out wrong in that particular segment. It should be under station wagon. Without those, they're about 40%. That means that trucks, other than SUVs, handle 40%, right? They also average a higher selling price. So dollars-wise, they're probably more than 40% because of real trucks I'm talking about, because of the amount of money. All of that means that resale is even more important for the consumer. Pickup trucks have great resale value as a whole. SUVs, not so much. As the market gets flooded, there's a lot less four-door sedans sold. SUVs are starting to get, they're kind of ho-hum, kind of run-of-the-mill. Yeah, there's a whole row of them. You go to dealership's used car lot and take a look. There's rows of them. You can any one you want, which it's useful, that's true, but that doesn't mean that it's not a good vehicle to buy either. It just means that the resale value for people to buy them is not going to be as great as you might have thought. But today we're going to talk about buying trucks, what's good for the purchase as well as what to avoid. I won't get into the market and models and all that stuff and which truck you should buy because everybody's got an opinion. There's a lot of good trucks out there. This is more about what to do and what not to do with design and equipment. Like I said, the first concern and the most costly long-term concern for you is resale value. It's still the biggest part of owning a vehicle, whether it's a car, a truck, or whatever. I don't care what kind it is. You consider it with every choice. You need to. Get what fits your needs, but get the one with the best resale value that fits your needs. And you got to think about that because on a truck, believe it or not, on a truck, it could be $3,000, $4,000 at the end of 4 or 5 years. Difference between having the right truck and having the wrong truck. Let me take just a quick minute and talk about the really huge discounts, those $10,000 and $12,000 and $15,000 end of the year discounts you see on Chevy trucks, and you're starting to see them on other ones now. I think it's just a marketing technique that fuels a price war on the full price pickups sold in the United States by the Detroit 3. I really do. I think it's just part of they're thinking it's a smart marketing idea. I don't think it's so smart at all. You might think that these are great deals in some way. They are, I suppose, in some cases, but you invest less and the big discount makes it seem like the depreciation will be less. It really doesn't help because the market knows what happened. The market knows when there's a big discount on a truck, and it affects the resale of that truck dramatically. And so the people that buy at the beginning of the year are getting whacked. I mean, it's really ugly. And if you buy at the beginning of the year, let's say you bought a $40,000 truck in November 2019, and you try to sell it, and you sell it, saw it for sale for $31,000 in June of 2020. That's $9,000 in 8 months. Think about that. $9,000 whack is what it's selling for. When you go to trade it in, you're probably talking about a $12,000 difference just in 1 year. But that's because they gave it away at the end. They weren't honest in the beginning, and they gave it away at the end. They said, well, we had to do it to sell them. Well, you should have done it to begin with. Not only would you feel cheated in that case, but the resale value being whacked by that $12,000, it's kind of crazy that they would do that, but they do. And it affects the entire market. I mean, it's not just the the new vehicles that affects. It affects used ones too, because all the used ones drop in value because the new ones are selling for less. And leases changes those too, because that affects the residual value. But the good thing is if you leased in the beginning of the year, if the payment works, you don't have to worry about it. There's not as much chance to make a profit on the vehicle at the end, but at least you can just turn it back in. It's not your responsibility what the resale is. You just, at the end of your lease, you say, here's your keys, I'll see you later. It just kind of makes the sticker price kind of a scam. But it's only the domestics that are doing that. I mean, it really is. And I think it's because they're trying to fight the other vehicles in the market, imports, and by lowering their price to, ridiculously low at the end of the year to clean out their inventory. But in the meantime, everybody else is getting hurt. It's a losing proposition for every buyer. Don't get burnt. Be careful with these manufacturers. The MSRP means absolutely nothing, and resale value is a gamble in the beginning of the year. And domestic trucks, although not quite so bad with Ford, because Ford's resale is so doggone high, it's still a factor. I would avoid buying a new truck in the beginning of the year because of this. I really wouldn't. If I was going to buy a truck, I would not buy the newest model year at the beginning of the truck. This time of year, which is coming up on the model year change in September, I wouldn't buy the 2021 or 2022 or whatever comes out in September, I think 2021. Nope, because it's going to get beat up so bad at the end. I would go with last year's model, which has already taken that big discount whack. That's what I would go with, or a used one. But like I said, leasing it probably wouldn't matter because the payment's fixed. So on a lease, you'd probably be okay. Ending value, not so good on a lease, but if you're just going to lease it and turn it back in, you're fine. What about the truck itself? Anything that limits the usage of a truck in any way can and probably will have an adverse effect on the resale value. So if you're buying a vehicle or truck, if you're limiting something about it, well, that's going to have an effect on the resale value. I don't care who you are or where you get it. That's the facts. Example would be, and I've talked about this on other podcasts last year or so, cab style. That's a big factor. Regular cab with 2 bucket seats. Holy smokes. You want to talk about getting pounded on resale value. You buy a regular cab pickup truck with 2 bucket seats, only seats 2 people, you're going to get murdered. Unless that vehicle is a high-performance model, right? A hot rod. If you get that Chevy V8, that fancy little side step truck, it's not really meant to be a truck. It's just another sports car look that has a pickup box in the back. On that one, you're probably okay. You're going to have a limited market anyway. Anytime there's, not many people buying those. But at least you know it going in, and that's part of that market. And what helps bring it out is the fact that it's a performance vehicle. So it doesn't take as big a whack as a regular truck would. A regular truck with bucket seats would be murderous when you wanted to get rid of it because it's just so limited. Won't fit 2 people. That really, they're not common anyway. It wouldn't be a common thing to have a pickup truck with bucket seats, but just be aware of it in case you come across one. Add a bench seat to that regular cab truck, and now you've room for 3 people. How important is that? How important is it to have room for 3? Well, that's 50% more passengers, right? That'll add convenience, but it adds resale dramatically. Probably how fast it would sell would increase dramatically, and that means resale and dealer desire over time would increase too. 30% of the families, that's 30%, I think it's 34% now. 34% of the families in the U.S. have only 1 child. And so a regular cab truck with a bench seat would work for them, wouldn't it? They could have the whole family in that pickup truck while they're going where they're going or doing what they're doing. And that how important is that? If you had a child and you go to look at pickup trucks and it's only got 2 seats, so you're not going to be as interested. The more your truck appeals to a large number of people, the better off you are when it's time to sell or trade it. And that's all about buying the right truck. Extra cabs are more caught up in the resale, right? Now you can have room for 5 or at least 4, 5 for sure, in most cases. It has another group of people that could consider your truck when you're buying. In fact, about 90% of the public truck buyers, the ones that for the truck, not business, opt for an extended cab or with 2 extra jump seats or a crew cab. Crew cabs, right? Probably means that used trucks should follow the same 90% rule if you're going to be buying a used truck, you probably should buy the same type, and that's what's going to be in the market anyway. And if you're buying the crew cab, even more so, right? Crew cabs are growing in popularity, especially for commercial use, because if you get a bench seat in a crew cab, now they got 6 people can get in it. That's a whole team of contractors, and a couple carpenters, a couple electricians, a couple laborers, all in one truck. So you got your kids, you got 2 kids, you and your wife, and the 2 neighbors' kids. All of a sudden you had room for them. That's more than most sedans have. Most sedans are only 5-passenger. Price can be an issue, but the point is the cab style and the seating have an effect on the resale value in a big way. The crew cab certainly is not attractive in terms of styling, but crazy useful. I'm sure the attractiveness will grow over time. Crew cab offers the most public demand and therefore the best resale numbers. Another big effect on resale is the box size. Step side versus regular box. Step side doesn't help you. They look cool, right? This old step side pickups, they had the fenders on the outside. They're kind of slick looking like the old trucks, right? But it makes the box smaller. Yeah, not good. Smaller box, less resale. No question about it. It just robs from the capacity. And pickup trucks, generally, are all about the box. That's why they're pickup trucks. The standard 8-foot box has the best resale value. If the truck has an 8-foot box and you only needed a 6-foot box, that size difference doesn't matter. You'd still consider the truck. And it would probably go with it if that's what you found and that's what you got the deal and the one you liked. When it comes to construction, that's the only way to go. But if you're looking for an 8-foot box and you come across one with a 5 or 6-foot box, it won't work. Especially if you're a contractor. You need an 8-foot box and it's a 6-foot box. It doesn't matter what the deal is. It doesn't work. You can get the extender on the truck on the box. That's true, but who wants to pull that out all the time? And you can get an extender in an 8-foot box and haul around 10. Oh yeah. It's all about usefulness, and it's just much more useful. So now you get a crew cab with an 8-foot box, and it's a pretty long vehicle. But you know what? That would have the best resale value for sure. I'll guarantee you. It would have the highest resale value. Because most of your crew cabs have shorter boxes, 6.5-foot boxes. It's okay, it's on a crew cab. Even contractors would have a tendency to think about that a little bit, but the truth of the matter is, 8-foot box, a crew cab truck, that would probably be the highest. Shorter the box, the lower the resale value. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Know that going in. Engine versus resale value. As a family vehicle, small engines work fine. If you're just going to use it as a vehicle to drive around, 35% of the people in the market have only one child. Well, they could buy a pickup truck and just have a pickup truck and nothing else and drive around and everything would be fine. Bigger motor can be important, though, for carrying stuff or doing stuff. In a full-size truck, too small a motor or too large a motor can have an adverse effect on resale. Diesel, however, is a big add to resale for its work truck. If you're working with it, diesel trucks, that's the most torque and power. A diesel engine will go way more miles. So if you're buying it for a business, you don't have to worry about getting to 100,000 miles or 150,000 miles like a gas engine. When I worked for Mercedes, it wasn't uncommon to see a diesel engine with 400,000 or 500,000 miles on it. No kidding. Cars people drove for 400,000 or 500,000 miles still ran good. Those weren't trucks, but what difference does it make? It's still a diesel motor. But the limited market, 6-cylinder on a really small truck would be okay too. Most of them are 4-cylinder, and that's fine. But a 6-cylinder would be okay too, because there'd probably be acceptable average number of people that would get that and not care about the mileage. The mileage is pretty close to 6 or the 4 on the small trucks. But keep in mind, gas mileage is a small issue to begin with right now. I mean, gas is cheap. It's like today, I bought gas yesterday, it was $2.05 a gallon. Well, what difference does it make when you got a V8 or not? And if it's not going to make any difference, you want the bigger engine. If gas isn't an issue, you want the big motor. Another big resale item for trucks, even the small ones, is transmission, automatic versus manual. Manual costs a little less when it's brand new, but when it's resale time, it costs a lot more. If a person wants manual, they'll still consider an automatic vehicle. But if they want automatic, almost all the time they will not consider a manual transmission, because in a lot of cases they can't even drive it. They don't even know how to drive a manual transmission. But there's a few reasons that you want to stay away from manual transmission. I don't care what anybody tells you. Don't even buy it on a small truck. Don't do it, I'm telling you. Because it's fine, it works as a truck, but if you want the most resale when you get out of it, that's going to be with an automatic. Many people can't drive manual transmission nowadays, especially now, more so than in the past. But right now, the manual is less user-friendly in traffic in the city. It's just got, they've got the clutch issue that you can wear out. It's not handled automatically by fluids inside the engine, inside the transmission, attached to the engine. It's a different ball game. And that's a couple of the reasons why. And it affects the bench seat. You've got a stick shift, and you're driving around a pickup truck. That means that person sitting in the middle in the front's got to get in the way of the shifter. And that doesn't happen when it's automatic. It just makes for less room. They all mean resale value will be less because the same concerns affect the used vehicle market as affect the new one. Sure, there's some people out there who buy manual, but not nearly as many. And the least amount of people you have looking at your vehicle, the lower the resale value. You get good resale value, you want a lot of people looking for your vehicle. Engine and transmission affect other things like towing capacity, load capacity. They should be explained by the manufacturer. I think Autotrans holds an average here that's better there as well, too. If you're thinking manual transmission when you go out to buy, think again. I'm telling you. I don't know. Some guys say it's macho or I've always had a manual. I don't care what you've always had. You want resale value? That's what you got to buy an automatic. You don't care about resale value? Fine. If you don't care about resale value, buy any old thing. But if you care and you want to get the most of your truck when you go to trade it, those are the things that make it worth more. Transmission, engine, body style are the biggest factors on resale value for a truck, with the exception of brand. Brand still plays a part. Pickup trucks have changed in use, and there probably aren't as much a utility vehicle anymore as they were. They're daily drivers, and the amenities inside the cab affect them just like a car. But when it is commercial use, amenities are less important. But if you're going to be driving around like a car, well, you got to have the stuff in it. For a dealer taking your vehicle in trade, they'll be looking at resale value possibilities when they take it in trade. Amenities help because your used truck has an option the customer wants, is particularly looking for. They won't consider one without that option. But if the vehicle they're looking for has a they're not looking for one with a sunroof, but the truck has a sunroof or the truck has a tape, a CD player, CD fancy stereo system, they'll buy it anyway. They're not going to turn it down because it has those things. But if a person's looking for those things and they can't put them in easily, they're not going to consider it at all. So it's always better to have stuff you don't need more so than others. I'm not saying go out and buy a loaded truck. I'm just saying the basics have to be there. Air conditioning, automatic transmission, power steering. If it's going to be a pickup truck in the front, bench seat, jump seats in the back, 8-foot box. Otherwise, they lose interest. It's just not that cool for them. Fuel economy can be a factor, but not as big a factor as you think because fuel is cheap right now. So I wouldn't worry about that one. I wouldn't even bring that one up, to be honest with you, right now. I can remember when it has been, but it's not right now. People now are aware that trucks burn more gas, so they don't care about that part. They do get worse gas mileage in a car, but it's not enough difference monetarily to make a difference. When it comes to buying a truck, you decide what works best, but keep all these things in mind. As far as dealing, you could use the same methods we talk about on Deal Talk. Some things may be easier. Getting out-the-door prices will probably be easier on a truck than on a car because they're so used to giving commercial accounts those things quickly. You'll probably be able to get one right away. If you think you are a commercial purchaser, they may be quicker to get the bottom line if they think you are. Your requirements are your choice. You should know in advance the number of passengers, required towing capacity, load capacity. Those requirements dictate the minimums in GVW and engine size. More is usually better than less in the case of a truck. Now, there's also some geographical resale items that you should consider on a truck, too, depending on where you live. For instance, 4x4. 4x4 adds to the price quite a chunk. They cost a lot more money, no question about it. And that cuts the gas mileage, too, which is not as important right now, but during other times it does. In most states, it adds a lot to the long-term resale value, though. In the Northeast, you probably get back an additional resale on a used truck what you spent to get 4x4 to begin with. It's almost identical. You actually actually ends up costing you less. You're going to lose the interest you paid because it was a higher amount financed, right? So the interest on that amount financed, that little bit of difference would be more. You probably wouldn't get back. You end up getting that cost in there. But other than that, it's going to get you back what you paid for the 4x4 in most cases. And you end up getting option free. If it's a common body design and model, you wouldn't have any problem at all. I mean, I can remember going to the auction years back, and you go in a pickup truck lane, and in a 4x4 would come through, you couldn't, unless you were a big metro market dealer that, could sell vehicles for crazy money. You couldn't compete with what they were paying for those vehicles. They're just hot. They are. They're hot. It's not like they're not sitting on every corner. So what about manufacturer? All trucks have fairly good resale value. I don't care what kind they are. Some have excellent resale, assuming they're equipped properly. When Consumer Report, years back, I think it was 2017, they made a list of the 10 best vehicles in the last 7 years by model. There were 1,700 possibilities that could have won and have been in that top 10. Holy smokes, man, that was huge, right? And the 10th spot was an F-150. That's incredible now. They have a bunch of young bucks doing stuff there on Consumer Report, and they don't always look at their past statistics, and their reviews of vehicles in terms of resale and stuff are not as accurate as they used to be. Their yearly one is very accurate because they have a whole bunch of people working on it. You can't be clouded by your personal opinions. But the monthly magazine that you get, not as good as it was. Great for testing, great for how they hold up, how the vehicle drives and all those, and the amenities and things like that. But when it comes to figuring out resale value, longevity, what's the most dependable, they're just not on the money as like they were. Even with their own, they don't even look at their own stuff. They do articles that'll say this truck is not as good, and last year it was the best one or the next best one because nobody looked. And it's, unfortunately that's the case. But generally speaking, they're a great outfit. I have a tremendous amount of respect for Consumer Report, but sometimes they miss a little bit. There are others with decent resale value, like Chevy pickups are decent, as well as many of the others. And I mentioned you have to be careful because of the large discounts at the end of the year in the case of the Chevy truck. So you don't buy a Chevy in the beginning of the year, in my opinion. You have to wait to the end of the year. Toyota could be good. They have a good truck, great truck, as a matter of fact. Toyotas are great vehicles. But they don't have quite the resale value of the Ford and the Chevy because they just don't have the notoriety. They choke a little bit on resale value. I don't know. I don't think they hold up any worse than any of the others. I think they're about the same, but they're still good, though. Don't forget to shop bank rates, too, when you're shopping a truck, just as much as other purchases. And because you don't see the low rates on trucks, the 0% and all that stuff as often as cars, doesn't mean you can't get a good rate by going to the bank yourself. Know your beacon score and shop as many banks as you can before you buy the truck. Don't pay any attention to the dealer until you go and shop the banks yourself. Banks recover better from trucks in the repo situation. If they have to take one back, they recover better, so they're a little more flexible when they're loaning out a pickup truck, believe it or not, because they don't have the risk that they normally have. And that's a factor for you. As far as used tips on a truck, nothing changes. Get a Carfax, for sure. Have it checked before you buy it. Check it for flood. As a matter of fact, on a pickup truck, those are the ones that people say, I'm okay. I know it's a flood, but I'll drive out and boosh, they're done. And those are it wouldn't be uncommon for a truck to be commonly the flood victim. You got to check for that stuff for sure. Because they think they can handle the flood and they can't handle the flood. Nobody can handle the flood. The flood is the flood. It doesn't listen to people. And like I say, we're only here by geological permission. It's a threat on used truck, too, so keep in mind. You don't just look at, used trucks especially. Flood vehicles aren't going to be on a new one. No, we're not talking about new trucks now. We're talking about used trucks. And the flood in the Carfax and all that's only for the used. I mean, let your needs and the way you're going to use the truck be your guide. But remember, resale value is your biggest cost of ownership. You may think, well, I got to buy 4x4. That's cost me $2,000. Believe me, you could be making $2,000 worth of mistakes in resale value easily. You're not careful. things make a difference. They do. I mean, you can say, well, I don't care. I want this or I want that. Okay, fine, but know it going in. Always consider resale value. Always, even when you pick out the color. Things like that. Don't be fooled by that stuff. You can really end up building yourself a problem. You really can. Not in terms of resale, not a terrible problem, but enough so you don't get you get 3 or 4 thousand less than the next guy. I don't know about you, but that would bother me. That's for sure. That's definitely for sure. It's about money. That's why we're talking on this podcast. We're talking about dollars and cents, how to save money. There's not much to worry about on a dealer tricks on a truck any more than any other time. Don't think they won't pack your payments. Of course they will. They'll pack your payments. As a matter of fact, a lot of times they think, they don't have, and I'm sure they have the same respect for the truck buyer. No, I'm talking about average consumer, not businesses, as even you do the car buyer. I'm just, I guess they figure you don't see people that really get it driving around in pickup trucks, but they are. But I mean, that's just my opinion, what dealers might be thinking. Don't let that get in your way. Be aware of it. They're going to pack the payments. They're going to lie in ads. They're going to say, plus tax tag title options, on a truck. Options could be huge, right? Or they might be leaving off options that you absolutely have to have. Like, things that you can shop before you go into the dealership. You want to do that too. You should buy rust-proofing or undercoating on a pickup truck, even if you don't live in the Northeast, because it protects the bottom of the truck, and trucks are the ones that are subject to that kind of wear and tear on the bottom, right? You want to get a bed liner. I don't care what anybody tells you, get a bed liner. Boy, you'd see a truck when it comes and traded at a dealership, one that's had a bed liner in it versus one that hasn't. Holy smokes, what a difference. And it makes a difference for resale, which makes a difference to the dealer. Those are things that do make a difference. But anyway, get the one that works best for you, but think about all those things. Think about the resale and think about it hard. Well, that's Deal Talk for this week. If you have a question or a request or even a comment, please call or email me. Callers 407-801-4071. That's 407-801-4071. Or you can email me at dealtalkpodcast@gmail.com or dealtalk@mail.com. Please don't forget to do a review and do yourself a favor by getting a copy of The Informed Buyer from Amazon or Nook. I'm telling you, for $3, it'll be the best $3 you ever spent. Guarantee. If you're going to buy a vehicle, that'll be the best $3 you've ever spent, no question about it. And remember, every payment you get should be the complete payment information, CPI, amount, months, rate, any required down payment to get to those terms. Not on the first payment only, but on every time you get a monthly payment, you get that information every single time. And every price you get should be all in. Every single cost required to buy the vehicle. Tax, plates, dealer fee, aftermarket options, everything. Without that information, it's almost impossible to compare pricing. Get all of it in your price. Get the price all in. They call that OTD, out the door.